Hello, 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 and welcome to the Your Favorite Bad Movie podcast, Scare-topia.
Oh! Are you calling it something different every time on purpose?
Yes,
Okay,
Okay, good.
That's great.
All
It's a great
right.
bit.
and we're your hosts. My name is Chris Anderson, and with me, as always, I have the Reggie to my Mike, Greg,
Hi.
and I have the Reggie to my alchemy, my wife, Anna.
Hello, hello.
And this week, we're talking about my pick in the Scare-topia, Phantasm II. God, I love this movie.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen Phantasm II before?
I had not.
Okay. That's very exciting for me.
Yeah.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I hadn't.
Well, I can't remember the first time that I watched Phantasm 2. I remember watching Phantasm 1, and I remember when I saw Phantasm 3, I had some vague memories of some specific scenes. I must have seen part of it on cable when I was a kid or something. But Phantasm 2 was famously very hard to find for a long time.
Oh.
In part because it was made by Universal, and so their distribution rights were separate from the rest of the Phantasm franchise.
Oh.
But then with my last podcast, Uncle Monster's Spooky Time Fright Hour, we did on our Patreon horror movie franchises, and I chose Phantasm for one because I really love Phantasm 1. Phantasm 1 is so good.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, like undebatably good in my opinion. And then so I was very excited to fill in the gaps of the rest of the franchise. And when I saw Phantasm 2, I was just blown away by how it sort of took the ball and ran with it in a very different way than part 1 did. And the way that it changed tones, almost the way that Aliens did to Alien.
Yeah. Which
but-
I have to say is one of my least favorite things about Aliens.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But we're not talking about Aliens.
That's why I haven't seen Aliens, to be honest. Well,
Yeah.
and also because I saw Alien when I was 12 and have not seen it since because it was very scary.
It's very scary.
Very scary. So, Anna, what's your background with Phantasm 2?
Well, I thought that I had seen it with you in, I don't know, 2012 or something, before we moved from New York.
Possible.
So it's possible, but I don't know. I know that I probably haven't seen it a dozen times. I've probably only seen it, I don't know, maybe 4. But it's it feels like just a beautiful warm bath of a movie. I love it. I love it. And
it's a real
I love,
comfort watch.
I love Phantasm 1 as well. But they are very different, and I think I probably end up preferring Phantasm 2 for reasons I'll discuss later.
Yeah.
All right, I'm excited to get into it. Greg, do you have Phantasm 1 thoughts?
Yeah, so Phantasm 1, I think you were hosting an event before Halloween, maybe at Dean's or something, because I watched it with a group of people, and it was just a blast to watch. It's one of those movies that, like, I knew about the Sphere and a few other things, and I was always just like, man, because there was a time when I would not watch horror movies, and I was just like, that's going to be, I don't even know. And then I was like, no, I'm into this now. I want to see what this is. And it's just very different than anything else really that I have seen. Watched it again with a girlfriend, and she was maybe not so enthused about it as I recall, or just like afterwards, like, that's kind of dumb. And I was just like, well, it's not how I took that. I really liked it, so I was excited to see the sequel. I did have to read reread the plot so that I remembered things correctly from the first one, because I remember very much that red zone and like the funeral home, but forgot that the tall man is an undertaker. So there's just like little things I needed to fill back in so that I was not completely lost. Because also
Yeah.
Phantasm 2 does not do the best job of filling you in. I mean, it kind of does.
I mean, that's wonderful. That's what's wonderful about it, and yeah, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, let's get into some context. Let's set the plate. Well,
did we do the synopsis?
No, good point. Good point, Greg. Good eye.
Yes.
My short summary.
I'm so excited to hear what your short summary of this is going to be.
Years after the events of the first Phantasm, Mike and Reg reunite to hunt down the mysterious otherworldly tall man who killed both their families.
It's much more sensible than I thought you were going to.
Yeah, I decided if I started to fill in more detail than that, it would be like an entire paragraph.
Yeah, there's a lot to put down on paper.
Yeah, this is more the premise than the plot, but it is what it is. So, with that, damn, I wish that I had some context. So Phantasm II came out in 1988. The director, Don Coscarelli, who directed all of the Phantasm films except for Phantasm V.
Did he do anything else?
Yes.
Okay.
I will get to this. That is in there.
Just curious.
Tagline, this summer, the ball is back. Yes.
Nice.
Yep.
100% true. Don Coscarelli was born in Libya, the son of Italian settlers. His family then emigrated to Los Alamitos, California, where he made short films with neighborhood kids. Shout out to Neighborhood Kids, the straw that stirs the drink in all the best episodes of your favorite bad movie podcast.
My paternal grandmother used to write plays and put them on with the Neighborhood Kids.
Great
when
thing
she
to
was
do.
a kid.
The Neighborhood Kids didn't like me.
I was surprised to see that Coscarelli is 2 years younger than my parents. Because I don't know. I think it's the name Don. I think I've always assumed that he was like born in the 30s, but he was born in 54.
Okay. Yeah, you're thinking of like Don Corleone.
Maybe.
Donald Corleone.
yes, right.
I'm glad you did the full name. That really made me understand who we were talking about. They call him Donald Corleone all the time.
Yeah, the godfather of crime.
Yeah.
Now, he directed his first feature film at the age of 18. It was called Jim the World's Greatest. It was about a boy and his relationship with his drunkard father. The drunkard father played by Angus Scrimm, who plays the tall man. Now, another interesting fact about... and at that point, he was possibly known as Lawrence Rory Guy. That was his birth name. His stage name he adopted while he was in college because his college had a rule about performing professionally while you were still in college. So he adopted a stage name to evade his bursar, I guess.
Sure.
Now, he was also the youngest director to have an independent feature distributed by a major studio. Universal picked this film up the next year at the age of 19. He had a film distributed by Universal.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wunderkind.
Exactly. he didn't need no fancy film school. I tried to track down Jim the World's Greatest. I could not. He followed that up with Kenny and Company, a coming-of-age story that takes place on Halloween. So it's the rare movie that takes place on Halloween, but is not a horror movie. But there were some jump scares in there, which had some fun. And so that led him to write and direct Phantasm, reuniting with Angus Scrimm, and also reuniting with Michael Baldwin, who was in Kenny and Company. He played Mike in the original Phantasm.
Okay.
Now, Phantasm cost $300,000 to make, and it earned $22 million in the global box office.
Wow.
So, very big success for Coscarelli.
Yeah, huge success.
So, it doesn't make, it's not too surprising that a sequel rolled around sooner or later.
What year did the first one come out?
I want to say like 79, 78.
Okay.
79. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I say it was 9 years between the films.
Okay.
Or between the events of the films. So
I have a decent memory for things that happened in 1979. Because I did.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, Universal, they wanted a horror franchise. They wanted to get into the horror franchise business. All the other studios, they had their Nightmare on Elm Streets and the Freddy Kruegers and whatever. So, but Universal didn't have a skin in the game, even though Universal is known for horror.
Yeah.
So they figured Phantasm. We've worked with Coscarelli before. We distributed Jim the World's Greatest. Maybe we can get in the Coscarelli business. So they approached Coscarelli and they set him up with a $3 million budget, which is the highest budget of any Phantasm film, but the lowest budget of any movie Universal made in the 80s.
Huh.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, Coscarelli was unsure how to tackle the sequel, feeling that the first film's ending was pretty definitive. At the end, Mike gets snatched by dwarves and pulled into a mirror. The tall man has won. He didn't want to start fresh with new protagonists and the same villain like you might with like a Friday the 13th or something. You couldn't just have the tall man roll into a new town.
Right.
And I think that's one of the most interesting aspects of Phantasm as a franchise as a whole, is that it consistently stays with these core characters.
Interesting.
And that's also why it becomes more action based than horror based, I feel, because action is a genre that allows for more of an active protagonist, whereas in horror you sort of have to be reactive.
Right.
Like you can't have Mike and Reg learning about the tall man again.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I can't believe he's fucking back. We buried the tall man.
And also, while your horror protagonists can survive, they can't keep surviving movie after movie.
Yeah.
Whereas in an action franchise, that's fine.
Yeah. Now, what he decided to do, how he clicked it, was he wanted to start immediately after the first film and be like, oh no, they escaped. Then he added in the road movie angle to help sort of change it up. He didn't want to be stuck in the same town. He figured this way he'd have to have a new approach to it.
Yeah.
This led to a bigger role for the Hemi Cuda.
Yeah.
The coolest car in horror, I'm going to say.
Yeah. I skimmed a couple of very adorable like car guys like rebuilding, ones to resemble the Phantasm Cuda. And it's just interesting to me to think of people who like love the Phantasm franchise for a completely different reason, because it's like, because they saw it when they were a kid and they were like, that car is so cool. They became car guys because of Phantasm.
It's a very easy car to imprint on. It is a very cool looking car.
Yeah.
There's like, it's made up for the movie? There's not an actual Hemi Cuda, right?
No, there's a real Hemi Cuda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Universal's $3 million did come with a couple strings attached.
Mm.
One, they wanted no dream sequences. They wanted everything that happened to be clear. It seems like they got pretty close to it on this. And there were some things that happened in this that allegedly were supposed to be dream sequences.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like, just take out the part where they wake up. This is just a scene that happened. This is just a weird thing that happened to them.
Do you think part of that is competing with Elm Street?
I think part of it is that I think they found Phantasm, the original one, to be a little alienatingly challenging to follow. I think they didn't have enough faith in the audience.
Sure.
And so they wanted something that was just more digestible, more a traditional horror franchise type of movie. But I'm sure the sort of surreal nature that Phantasm and Nightmare have in common might be part of what drew them towards Phantasm as a property to revive. And of course, you've got Tall Man is one of your rare horror movie villains that talks. I always prefer it when they talk. So he's got that bit of Freddy DNA. Now, another thread that a string that the money came with is that there had to be some recasting. Obviously, nobody had a problem with Angus Scrimm. The guy looks fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But they wanted to recast Mike and Reg. Now, allegedly, they were thinking about Jeffrey Tambor for the role of Reg.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, would have been... He couldn't have pulled it off. He could not have pulled it off.
No.
And instead of Michael Baldwin coming back for Mike, they auditioned a bunch of people, including Michael Baldwin. They did let him audition, but he did not get the part, unfortunately. And some of this might have been horse trading behind the scenes. You know, I don't know all the finer inner workings, but I'm sure it was much more than, you know, let the best man win type of situation.
Right.
But Brad Pitt allegedly auditioned for the role of Mike.
Wow, we didn't get it, eh?
Yeah. Instead, it went to the James LaGrosse you have at home, or the Brad Pitt you have at home, James LaGrosse.
Yeah.
Who I think did a fine job in the role.
No, he does a fine job here.
Yeah,
he would. It's just
Brad Pitt in 1988 would have been distractingly attractive.
Yeah, I suppose I could see that.
You don't need that of Mike.
No,
and he isn't like why he isn't done an innocent enough. Like Mike always has a bit of that childlike air to him.
Yeah.
At least when Michael Baldwin plays him. And I think a little bit James LaGrosse is able to bring that. But Brad Pitt never strikes me as a babe in the woods, you know?
Yeah.
Or not that. Well, anyway, he doesn't seem right. He doesn't seem right. James LaGrosse seems okay. I think he's a better fit.
And of course, Reggie Bannister is perfect.
Yes, you could never have anybody else playing Reg other than Reggie Bannister.
Yeah. He's
the original, right?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, he's so good in all, and he becomes more and more of a character.
Nice.
Where by part 5, it's pretty much entirely his movie.
Interesting.
Part 5 is really fucking weird. Do you want to really quick? The other string that they had attached was that they needed to add a love interest, who's Paula Irvine as Liz, who I think does a fine job in her role as the blonde gal next door.
Yep.
The film did make a profit and led to 3 more sequels with mixed results. Really quick, just to talk about the sequels. Phantasm 3 is very weird. I very strongly recommend it.
Yeah.
It takes place in a world where pretty much the tall man has begun to win. And it takes place in sort of the people living in the sort of post-apocalypse of the tall man's wake.
How fascinating.
Yeah, it's really over the top. There's a black woman named Rocky who uses nunchucks. There's a kid that throws a frisbee covered in razor blades. Nice. And you've got Mike, Reg, and the return of Mike's older brother, whose name I keep on wanting to say Sully, but it's not Sully.
No.
I keep wanting to
Jody.
say Theo, but it's not Theo. Jody, okay.
It's Jody. Yeah, Jody is back. And he's a sphere that can manifest himself psychically. And then part 4, it's kind of like the trial of Billy Jack of Phantasm.
Oh, nice. I'm in the seats.
Mike goes on a vision quest, and goes into the desert, and we find out that his psychic powers are because he is a gold sphere, or he has a gold sphere growing inside of him.
Wow.
And that's and the tall man is also a gold sphere. And then part 5 was originally supposed to be a web series and was not directed by Don Coscarelli. Does not look good. It looks very much like it was shot on somebody's phone. And the last movie ended with Reg going into the tall man's home dimension to get Mike. So I was hoping that 5 was just going to be Reg in hell. The whole movie is just Reg going doom mode. And that would have been awesome. But instead, it starts with him immediately coming back out of hell and looking for Mike. And there's something about maybe somebody's in an old folks home. And then, it was all a hallucination that was generated by the tall man. And you're living in a world where now basically all of Earth has become a colony of the tall man's home dimension. It was very confusing and not great. It was not
okay.
It was a real thud.
Yeah.
It was and I said when I watched 4, how I feel about 4 is going to depend entirely on how good 5 is, because 4 just is completely open-ended. So 5 retroactively ruined 4 for me.
Interesting.
Other horror films of 1988.
I love this part.
We've got some good ones. We've got Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Ooh.
Great film. Great film.
Stone cold classic.
I just bought it in 4K because I was like, I need to be able to see that all the time if I want to.
Yes, you do. It's so good.
I
would love to talk about that on here. Child's Play. The Serpent and the Rainbow.
Oh.
The Blob.
Ooh.
Classic, great effects movie. Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. Lair of the White Worm. An incredibly sexy film.
Oh, the Ken Russell one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic movie.
Yeah. A movie that truly appreciates how beautiful a woman looks in thigh-high stockings. Dead Ringers.
Great.
Woo!
Hellraiser 2, Hellbound.
Perfect.
Sleepaway Camp 2. Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. And Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. So you can see there was a very large audience for horror out there.
Yeah.
It makes sense that Universal was thinking, yeah, we need a horror franchise. We're leaving money on the table.
That Elvira movie is charming.
Yes, absolutely charming. I mean, honestly, if you put Elvira on screen, you're 90% of the way towards a good movie. Just a infinitely charming character, incredibly gorgeous. Now, unfortunately, one thing that did happen at the opening of Phantasm 3, there was they did have a stuff yourself into a hearse contest. That's not the unfortunate part. The unfortunate part was that this movie was opening opposite, I believe, Die Hard and Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, God.
So, there's not a lot of meat left on the bone when you're trying, because it got pushed up to a summer release. This really is more of like an October movie.
Yeah.
It probably would have done a lot better. Because when you're fighting for ticket money against both Die Hard and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, you're looking for trouble.
Yeah, that's a losing race.
Well, you guys want to get into the plot?
Yes.
I would love to.
Yes, this plot is surprisingly complicated.
Surprisingly complicated.
Block Bumper, listen to me. I'm gonna give you the plot summary. Come on, baby, here's the synopsis. Block Bumper, Block Bumper.
So we open up on our title screen and we get the classic Phantasm logo. Fantastic font. Always happy to see it. We open on Liz, a blonde girl next door type. And she's writing in her journal, recapping the events of Phantasm 1 in a way that isn't really that illuminating if you haven't seen Phantasm 1.
Oh, yeah.
But it will refresh your memory a little bit. And I would love to hear the opinion of anyone who has only seen Phantasm 2 and not Phantasm 1. Listeners, if you have not seen either Phantasm, please watch Phantasm 2 and email us and let us know what you think. We will read it on the show. Now, she saw the events of Phantasm 1 in her dreams. She even saw a little bit of what immediately happened after Phantasm 1, which is Mike and Reg escape from being killed by the tall man after Mike gets pulled through the mirror. It turns out he wasn't being pulled into some sort of mirror dimension. That was just his closet door, and there was a dude in the closet. Now, unfortunately,
this makes that whole thing make a lot more sense to me because I forgot how like the specifics of the ending worked. So now this makes more sense. It also makes sense why he's blowing up the house. Like as the first action sequence, it's like, I'm going to blow up the house. It's like, this is one heck of an opening to a movie.
Now, one interesting thing about blowing up that house.
Yeah.
They bought that house from the state of California for $500.
Wow.
Because it was going to be demolished for a highway. It was just a derelict house or whatever. And they built a second story onto it. And then they've set up 3 different angles to film the explosion because they used the same house exploding for 3 different events in the film. Both both this house exploding, Reg's house exploding, and the funeral home exploding. All 3 of them were the same building, the same explosion. So we had to run 3 different camera setups at the same time.
That's incredible.
So
also really
good.
ingenious.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah,
Great
that's
filmmaking.
just great filmmaking.
Yeah.
I was going to say that also explains the numerous house explosions.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to blow up a house, let's make the most of it. They had like a fire marshal on the scene who was like, okay, you can only use this much stuff. You can only do this. You can only do that. And like halfway through the day, he was like, oh, what movie is this for anyway? What are you doing this for? And they were like, oh, this is for Phantasm 2. And the fire marshal said, wait, this is for Phantasm? You need to put a lot more shit in there. You can put a lot. It's fine. It's actually fine. You can put a lot more shit in there.
That's so good.
Yeah, he was just a Phantasm fan. But the film was like, the house is also like relatively near an airport, so they could only do it at like one very specific time. It was very logistically complicated. So you could see why all of that ended up in the film.
Yeah.
And I think it was worth it. That definitely is an incredible way to stretch your budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, after escaping the exploding house, young Mike wound up in a mental institution. Oh, do you know who played his body double?
Please.
Mike's body double, because they had to match the footage from Phantasm 1 with young Mike, but obviously Mike is an adult now, and he's also not in the film, so they had to get somebody else. They got Lori Loughlin.
Huh. How about that?
Lori Loughlin.
She would later go on to pay to get her daughters into college.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now I know who that is.
Full House, House, and then just the shamefaced person's like, yeah, we probably just should have admitted guilt to that instead of trying to fight it. It's like,
Yeah, not worth it.
Done.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Let's keep this quiet. Let's get in and out of here as quick as we can. That's the play.
Yeah.
Now, Mike winds up in a mental institution. While Reg ends up thinking that this was all a dream or something. For some reason, Reg doesn't think this happened. Now, Mike cons his way out of the loony bin, and you can hear him. You hear his thoughts as he's talking to the psychiatrist.
It's hilarious.
It's just tell this fucking bozo whatever he wants to hear. I know now that I was wrong. Just keep on smiling. It's like real Sarah Connors stuff.
Yeah.
Except it works for him and he gets out. And he immediately goes to a cemetery and starts digging up graves. Which honestly,
so good.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't even stop anywhere.
It's
this
the right
is what
move.
he's doing. And Reg finds him there. And
he's like, I knew you'd be here.
I knew you'd come to the nearest fucking graveyard and start digging, Mike.
And boy, does Mike have some surprises for him.
Yes, not only does he surprise him with the fact that the 3 graves that he's already dug up have been empty, just at random, 3 random graves, but also while they're driving back to Reg's house to see his beautiful family, Mike drops the bomb that he's had a vision that the tall man is going to blow up their house by turning the gas on the stove, the same way, a real callback. And then that happens. His vision comes true. And Reg's entire family gets blown up within the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. 2 house explosions in the first 15 minutes is a wild number of explosions in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah. It's front heavy with house explosions for sure.
And Reggie was given this never seen family between movies, correct?
Oh yeah. Back in the events of the first movie, he was a real loser.
Yep.
You know, he was day drinking with his buddy. His job was an ice cream man. You know, who knows what he's been doing in between. I do know that the actor Reggie Bannister in between did work in a mortuary.
Oh, wow.
Now that Reg's entire family has been murdered, he's on board with hunting down the tall man. He's like, you know what? I think you're right, Mike. I think you did have the right plan. You know, I hate to have to eat humble pie on this one, buddy. Now, they hop in the Hemi-Cuda and hit the open road, following the tall man's wake of destruction. And Don Coscarelli gets his road movie. First thing they do is they break into a hardware store where they steal a bunch of supplies. Reg builds a 4-barrel shotgun, and Mike builds a flamethrower. And they leave a couple $100 on the cash register. And both these weapons are so cool.
They're great.
It's so cool.
It's 4-barrel shotgun.
It's wild. It's crazy to me that they do this sequence in the first act, because this is normally like a third, like it's like we're gonna make our assault. You get the montage and everything. Like near the end, it's like, wow, this movie is front loaded
right from the jump.
Yeah,
that's what I like, is that it starts at 10 and it maintains it the whole time.
I would say it dials it up slightly.
Yeah, it's burying the needle for sure. And the design of Reg's shotgun is he takes 2 double-barreled shotguns and he straps them together, and then he saws them so they come to a point in the middle, and it's just the meanest, nastiest looking fucking thing.
Yeah.
It's so rad.
If you bought a Reg action figure, you would have to get the 4-barrel shotgun with it. It's so fucking sick.
And the chainsaw. Those would be
and a chainsaw and a big drill. Yeah.
And I love that his like bandolero has like bullets and drill bits in it.
Yeah.
It's like,
you never know which one you'll need.
Perfect.
And this is not Mike arms himself up with a homemade flamethrower and a 45 caliber pistol. Mike is also looking badass, and you love to see a flamethrower in a movie. It's instant spectacle.
Yep.
You know, it's such a visual weapon.
And he carries it really well, like in a really like gun-like like it really just works.
Yeah, he when he fires it, he gets in that same stance that Jesse Ventura gets in when he's firing the Gatling gun in Predator. Like his feet are at 90-degree angles and he's in a squat and he's like, he's bracing for the recoil from his flamethrower, which I don't think a flamethrower would have, but I don't know.
Probably not.
Anyway, Anyway, they leave the money behind. They're back on the road. They pull into a town called Marion and head to the cemetery. All the graves have been dug up. It's a really strong image. They like pan up from, or I guess, no, it's a crane shot that moves up from the side view of the car and then points down, and you see like 50 open graves. It's open graves as far as the eye can see. And it's so impactful.
Mm-hmm.
And Reggie, in voiceover, he's the third character to do voiceover by like, I think we're like 20 minutes in. Says, small towns are like people. Some get old and die a natural death. Some are murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie's about Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that they got that effect was they dug a bunch of trenches, but they were only 6 inches deep. And then they put black cloth at the bottom of them. So it just looked like they were.
Oh.
That's so interesting. Because I was just thinking about that. It's like they did a lot of digging for just a few shots. But I mean, it's got to do.
Still a lot of digging, but much less than it could have been. Now, they chainsaw their way into a boarded up mausoleum, loaded up with their signature weapons. Mike finds a nude lady on a embalming table who then disappears. And in the corner of the boiler room, hiding underneath a blanket, Reggie finds Liz with tape over her mouth. Liz from the beginning of the movie. It's Liz.
Yeah.
What's she doing here? Well, it turns out she's having a giant worm grow out of her back.
And it looks awesome.
And it's covered in goo. And it speaks in the voice of the tall man and has a face vaguely reminiscent of like a tall man if he was a worm. And in classic tall man style, he says, "You play a good game, boy. Come and get me if you dare." And then they shoot it with a flamethrower. Appropriate. I like that their plan, like they never go like trying to research tall man lore to find if he has a weakness. It's just like, we need to get the biggest gun we can find.
Yeah.
There's no Lord have mercy in this one.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Absolutely.
Scene.
I also feel like they both say, like, we're probably going to die doing this, but we got to do it. And it's just like, I like this attitude of just like, don't know how to do it, but we're going to do it if we can. And we might not be able to, but God damn it, we're going to try.
Yeah. We can't tell anybody because nobody's going to believe us. So we've just got to.
We just got to do it.
We can't sit by and pretend this isn't happening. So off we go. Meanwhile, the actual real Liz, it turns out this was not Liz. This was a scene that was originally supposed to be Mike's dream.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I think it plays better as something that actually happened and doesn't get explained and just makes it like, oh, this is just weird shit that the tall man does for fun.
Yeah.
He's just a weird guy.
Yeah. I didn't bat an eyelash at it when I saw it. I was just like, how about that? A wild scene. And it didn't feel like someone had turned a dream sequence into a reality sequence. Like,
well, and I think the one sort of unifying aesthetic principle of the Phantasm franchise and what makes it so successful is it's working from the idea that crazy shit should always be happening.
Yeah.
Like every scene, something fucking crazy happens.
Yeah,
and so it's so propulsive. There's never a dull moment. They're always moving forward. You're always getting something else that is just wild. And that's why, for me, Phantasm is my favorite horror franchise. I think at this point.
Yeah.
On any given day, I can switch back and forth between this and Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, Liz is going to her grandfather's funeral in the small town of Paragord, Oregon.
Paragord, Oregon.
Good work.
I don't think I could.
I expected that to go much worse, I'll be honest.
Yeah. I'm too afraid to try it myself.
No, you set a high bar. Now, after the funeral, Liz wanders around the mausoleum. She sees a dwarf running around in basically like a Jawa robe. And she calls out to Mike with her mind. hoping that he'll ride in to rescue her. Meanwhile, the priest that was officiating the funeral seems to be kind of losing his shit.
Yeah.
Yep.
He takes a slug of whiskey from a hip flask, and he asks God to forgive him before pulling a very large dagger out of his coat and stabbing the corpse through the chest.
Yeah.
And then in the background, we see that Grandma saw the whole thing and she instantly faints. It's such a good gag.
Yeah, it's wild.
Now, I'm not going to have time to go into this on the pod. I will actually, I'll post about it when this comes out. But the actor who plays the priest, Kenneth Tigar, Tigar, has been on like mostly television for 50 years, and like
Okay.
I decided to write down just the shows that I've seen that he's been on an episode of, and there are 21 of those.
Wow.
So he just
Yeah,
and he's
Did a
still,
lot
I
of
mean,
work.
he's still at it. It's great. It's
Okay.
great.
and he's really good in this, I think.
No, I like him in this movie
Yeah.
quite a bit.
And he has a
I'd also
great face.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
I do want to add that when he stabs the corpse, yellow liquid comes out of it.
Yes. And in the next scene, when Liz finds a steaming, dirty coffin in the middle of the mausoleum, and she gets jump scared by the tall man, she stabs him with like a little hat pin and then runs off. And we see that he does not have blood, but some sort of yellow goo that oozes out of where he was stabbed in the hand. So I think there's something weird about this tall man.
Yeah, that's weird.
Now, Pop must have ended up getting the tall man treatment somehow, because that night his corpse jump scares both the priest and Gam Gam. The next day on the road, Reg picks up a beautiful hitchhiker named Alchemy, while Mike...
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. And, well, this is also one of the best things about Reg that is a consistent aspect of his character throughout the rest of the franchise, is that Reg is horny. Reg is overtly, explicitly like, I need to get laid. I'm an adult man. And I want to have, I'm a single guy. I'm very lonely. I'm on the road all the time with this guy who's like 30 years younger than me. 20 years. Now, so they pick up Alchemy, and Mike dreams about her during his afternoon nap, and dreams that she's dead or fucked up, that she's in a bad shape, you know?
I mean, he
So they
saw
pull
her.
over.
She's the girl that he saw on the
it was carried.
autopsy table earlier. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Now,
they only paid one actress for topless scenes.
Yeah. So they pull over, and the fellows are like, "Oh, we're gonna go take a leak," and Mike tells Reg that she died in his dreams, and Reg says that he is very horny, and Reg wins out. And Alchemy comes along. And he's like, oh, it's hard on the road, brother. He's really great in this scene. A man gets lonesome. It turns out she's going to the town of Paragord, Oregon.
Isn't that interesting?
What a coincidence. So back at Liz's house, Liz finds that Gam Gam has gone missing. And the only clue to her whereabouts is a hat pin, the hat pin that she stabbed the tall man with, and is dripping with yellowed custard blood. And then she also gets a psychic message from the tall man saying, I have your grandmother.
Yeah.
So
I have your grandmother.
I want $1 million in unmarked bills.
And a black bag, the trash can at the airport.
She heads out to the cemetery to find Gam Gam. Meanwhile, Mike, Reg, and Alchemy pull into Paragord, and it turns out the town looks like shit. And this is probably a big part of what the priest was so stressed out about it. He's like, I've been fucking burying a lot of people lately.
Yeah.
I know how many people know, like a lot of people don't know how many people die. I keep track of it. A lot of people are dying.
So I hate to tell you this, but everybody in that small town has got to know the number of people that are dying in that small town.
That's true.
Word
That's
is
true.
getting out.
Yeah. At this point, it's probably pretty conspicuous.
Yeah.
They set up camp at Alchemy's family's abandoned bed and breakfast.
And
they set up
that
booby traps everywhere.
She's like, there's a bed and breakfast that my uncle owns. I'm sure that will be like, let's just go there. We'll get you a room. It's like, that place is going to be boarded up like the rest of town. Like, how did you not like put, but yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Now, I would have heard if my aunt and uncle closed the bed and breakfast. Now, they do set up some booby traps. They say that they've been at this for 6 months. I like that they're really like cagey and like they put a grenade in half of a beer can and put a string on it, shit like that.
Yeah.
It's great. Reg bids Alchemy goodbye and they're off. And when they pull up to the cemetery, they see a graver in a gas mask. So they know they're in the right place. The graver being one of the servant of the tall man that is neither. The main ones that you'll see are dwarves and spheres, but they're also gravers. And there are also a couple of morticians. Yes.
Okay.
I think there was like one.
Okay.
I think the only monster that doesn't come back in this one is the lady in lavender.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the priest is at the funeral home too. He runs into the tall man, who uses his psychic powers to hang the priest with his own rosary.
Which is a
as he hangs
scene.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's very good. It's very good.
So strong. And as he hangs in midair, the tall man delivers the stone coldest line in the whole fucking movie.
Yeah.
You think that when you die, you go to heaven. You come to us.
Yeah.
And that, to me, that hits home like the whole theme of the Phantasm franchise, where like, horror movies are like about things, or that's one way to, like werewolf movies are about puberty and vampire movies are about either blood diseases or foreigners, that sort of thing.
Or sex.
Yeah. Or sex. Yeah. I mean, they're all about sex.
Okay. Yeah. Fair.
Phantasm is about death and how disturbing and frightening and unknowable death is. And like the concept of like, what if when you die, what happens is actually really bad? How disturbing that would be.
Yeah.
And that's part of why.
And I do like, even though I don't know if it's like maybe the main part, I like how that is extended to small towns, that places can die like people, and that the same kind of unknown can happen to places too. I think is kind of a unique horror trope that I haven't seen a lot of places.
Yeah, like communities dying. And I love that it pulls so much from like the iconography of death that you don't see in like any other horror movie, of like funeral homes and embalming and crematoriums and tombstones, just straight up images that we in real life associate with death.
Yeah.
And like there was a scene earlier where they were sewing grandpa's mouth shut and just like all this disturbing imagery about death that is like the fact that part's real is the scariest part of all.
Yeah, like they show like a mortician kind of preparing a body. Like eventually it becomes apparent that he's like working for the tall man, but like just the like nonchalance, and it's just like, I mean, it's your job to work with corpses all day. You just be like, yep, here's another one, put the tube in, get the thing out, stick it to that. And it's just like, God, it's such a weird set of imagery and thing to think about. Just this is what you do is your job.
And for me, as a guy that like has specific anxieties about death and like can't think about death for more than 30 seconds without like bordering on a panic attack, that's why these movies also resonate so well as horror movies. It really taps into something for me. Now, the rosary snaps and the priest runs off. And that's when the tall man unleashes his most loyal and deadly lieutenants, 3 grapefruit-sized metal spheres.
Yeah.
Hey, I have an alternate tagline for the movie that I wrote down. At this point, you want to hear it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Orban time.
Ah! Good job, sweetie.
Thank you.
Yes, it's truly the tall man is 3-balling it. And this time, not all spheres are silver. He has a gold sphere. It was referred to on set as the Rambo sphere for being the deadliest of the spheres.
Okay.
The silver spheres, obviously, they've got your classic prongs and drill combo attack. The gold sphere can shoot out laser beams. Pretty scary.
Yeah.
Now, and the spheres look so cool on film. I love
they work really well.
They apparently came to Coscarelli in a nightmare. This is the only image in the film that was pulled from his dreams.
Okay.
And the guy that designed the original sphere unfortunately died before Phantasm came out. He never got to see them on film.
Man.
But they really are such a strong effect. They're such a
Yeah.
strong visual, instantly iconic. The
Yeah, it was like
spheres are
I knew
classic.
about the spheres like before I'd ever seen a Phantasm. Like
Yeah.
they're like the image of the franchise.
They're so cold and otherworldly, but they seem
Mhm.
to have some sort of consciousness. They're very disturbing and alien, and they work so well to establish that, you know, because everything else about the tall man doesn't seem very technological. To
Yeah.
see that he also has technological science stuff going on, it's like, what the fuck is going on? You know?
Yeah.
So the priest runs into Liz and is like, oh, everything is fucked up. And then a sphere cuts off his ear and drills a hole in his head, killing him.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff.
And I love that the spheres keep going afterward.
Yeah, they're
It's like he's dead, but
relentless.
it's just like it's just like, man, that's
Yeah.
so menacing, so crazy.
Let's see. Liz runs away and runs into Mike after falling into an open grave. This is the first time they've actually met, but they instantly start smooching
Yes.
because they share such a strong psychic bond.
Mm-hmm.
They meet up with Reg and they get out of there. Back at the B&B, they decide to try and get some shut-eye before assaulting the tall man's compound again in the morning. The guys pair up with their respective ladies and hit the sack. And we get 2 very different couples.
Oh, very.
You've got Mike and Liz, who are talking about being soulmates, and they're doing it via psychic connection.
Mm-hmm.
And there was originally in the film a scene where they had sort of psychic sex that showed them like flying through the sky and over the ocean, and but that was cut out for being weird. And then the opposite side of the coin, where this is obviously supposed to represent some sort of beautiful, deep physical and emotional and psychic connection. We also have Reg and Alchemy just getting silly with it, just having some silly sex.
Yeah.
And I saw a bit of an interview with the actress that played Alchemy, who went on to mostly work in like sexploitation movies. She did some Jim Wynorski movies.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, God bless. And she looks fantastic here. And she said she was trying to figure out, like, okay, how are we going to justify that, like, me, this very hot 20-something, is into this very bald guy in his mid to late 40s.
Mm-hmm.
And she eventually decided on, she has a bald fetish. And so while they were doing their sex scene, that's why she like said, "Oh, I love your head." And then she kept on like slapping his head during the scene.
Yeah.
And apparently after a day of filming that, he ended up with a very large welt on his head from being slapped repeatedly by this topless woman that was grinding on him.
Oh, that was
so
terrible.
Crazy.
Yeah, and his wife was apparently not on like location, but she was like in the area that day. She's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna hang out in the
Yeah.
parking lot or whatever." Uh, so shout out to Reg Bannister, wife guy of the week. Now, after Mike and Liz finish their mind meld, there's an explosion downstairs.
Yeah.
But it was just either a diversion or a tragic accident. There's some debate as to whether or not a cat was blown up with a hand grenade, but they can't quite tell. And they don't have much time to figure it out because the tall man uses this distraction as an opportunity to kidnap Liz.
Oh no!
Yeah, there goes Liz. The fellas give chase, leaving Alchemy behind. Unfortunately, they flip the CUDA, and the tall man escapes with Liz. Liz gets brought down to the crematorium by one of the tall man's assistants, who prepares to cremate her alive. But first, he needs to finish packing up some ashes, the ashes of one Sam Raimi.
Yes, love that bit.
Very cute.
Yeah. Also, at one point, Liz ran past a grave that was Alex Murphy's grave. Alex Murphy, of course, RoboCop.
Right.
Oh, okay.
I knew that sounded familiar.
I saw the name and was like, that. I feel like that's interesting that I saw the name Alex Murphy. I wonder if that's something.
Yep, that's RoboCop.
Okay.
Now, Mike and Reg do a classic D&D dungeon hack in the funeral home. You'd love to see a hack in a movie. There's a lock that can only be opened by a sphere if they can capture one. There's a big bottle of sulfuric acid that Reg uses to sabotage some embalming equipment. The boys split up to look for Liz. Mike quickly finds her after she escapes from the crematorium. Reg has a chainsaw duel with a graver in a gas mask.
Has anybody seen the movie Mandy?
No, I've been meaning to, but I haven't.
Okay, you should. It's very good. I mean, it's intense, and you got to be in the right place. But I feel like I forget the guy's name that did Mandy, but I feel like he has to be a Phantasm II fan because the chainsaw thing is like basically kind of in Mandy, where it's just like Nicolas Cage is like, I got a chainsaw, and then this terrible ghoul is like, I have a bigger chainsaw, and it's just like, okay, great, all right, let's see what happens here.
Is that the younger Cosmatos?
Yes.
Panos Cosmatos? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely
it's
highly
on my
recommended. Highly, just like really get to it. It is incredible, truly incredible.
All right. Well, and apparently Bannister did all his own stunts in this film except for jumping over the chainsaw.
Yeah,
that one the insurance guys wouldn't let him do.
It's fair.
Yeah, I completely understand. Let's see. Gas mask, fight with the chainsaw. Mike and Liz fight with spheres and undertakers. Reg chainsaws his opponent in the dick before reuniting with the others, who have snagged a sphere and use it to open a lock.
I will say that the sequence with Mike running and the Undertaker and the spheres is really super effective. And I like how it all sequences and changes and everything goes and how things come back. Like it is an exceptionally good sequence, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like it's very clear. What could be logistically very complicated was actually very clear and exciting and understandable. I think it was very well done.
Yeah.
Because obviously they're running through like mausoleum hallways, which can all look very similar, easy to get lost in. You got 3 parties that you're keeping track of that have very different, Anyway, great sequence. Behind the locked door is a dimensional tuning fork, a concept that you would be familiar from Phantasm I, but it's not really at all explained what's going on here.
Yeah, I love these things though. Like this,
they're so cool looking.
This thing within the context of everything else is I feel like it really truly elevates everything else that's going on because it's like, okay, this is weird, and you see that like, oh no, what? This is like, this is almost like I don't even know how to comprehend some of this, honestly.
Yeah, it's like in the middle of this sort of very like old, dilapidated mausoleum, like something that would have been built around the 1900s, that type of vibe. And then, you open a door and there's like a glowing white room with 2 metal bollards popping up from the middle of the floor, and if you
And
put
this
your
like
hand between them, it goes to
humming,
another
and
dimension.
it's so crazy.
Yeah.
And the other dimension is crazy.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
poke their heads into the other dimension. It's entirely like a red, rocky desert with a long parade of cloaked dwarves marching into the distance. It's really
I think
intense.
I don't know if we ever mentioned like where the dwarves come from, because it was revealed in Phantasm 1. What the
Mm.
tall man's whole deal is that he takes dead bodies and squooshes them into these little dwarves because there's more gravity on his planet, and then he sends them through one of these portals to work for him forever as slaves under the undying red sun.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, that I would say maybe future films add to that, but I think that's definitely what we would know at this point.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, there's not just the portal to the hell dimension. There's also the tall man. He finds them. And they fight the tall man. They fight. And at one point, they jam a sphere into the tall man's head, and a worm pops out of the hole, and they have to rip the worm out and kill the worm. We know that part of the tall man can turn into worms from Phantasm 1 after his finger turned into a worm that turned into a fly, and they had to kill the fly. Obviously, that happened. Now, then Liz stabs him with the embalming machine, which pumps the tall man full of the hydrochloric acid that appears to kill him. He looks pretty fucked up. He melts all over the
does.
place, and he's, oozing this yellow blood. And allegedly, part of the reason why they gave him yellow blood was that if they did this scene with red blood, this film would get an X rating for violence because he just
Yeah.
gets
Oh,
melted from the inside.
yeah, that makes sense.
It's very gory. I don't know if there's truth to that, but I think it giving him yellow blood is awesome anyway. I think it's fantastic. And he had yellow blood in the last film anyway. They then burn the funeral parlor down. That's right, it's our third exploding house.
Boom.
And who should pull up but Alchemy in a hearse that she found.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Hey, it's Alchemy, everybody. Unfortunately, while they're driving away, Alchemy and Reg are flirting in the front seat. And as Alchemy twirls her hair, it accidentally rips off a large hunk of her scalp. Mike and Liz, locked in the back of the hearse, see Reg fall over, apparently dead, and tell each other it's only a dream. When the divider slides open and the tall man appears, saying, "No, it's not." Cut to credits.
Great last line.
It's so good.
Yes.
And then the credits end, of course, with the usual disclaimer about all civil laws, blah, 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 blah. But this movie is also protected by the wrath of the tall man.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
You wouldn't download a Phantasm.
And indeed, I didn't. I bought physical media for this for the first time in a long time.
Congrats.
Yeah, you can get all 5 Phantasm films on Blu-ray for like less than $25. So
commentaries?
Yes.
I might be doing that.
Yeah, especially you get an employee discount. You should definitely do that.
Yeah.
So, and it ends like all proper Phantasm movies end with the tall man winning.
Mm-hmm.
That's another signature part of the film, that death always wins, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
Death is going to get you. So, final thoughts, 5 stars. Anybody want to go first?
This is absolutely a 5-star movie for me.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I don't know that I have much more to sum it up than that. I've been talking about it, for an hour now. All the things I love, but it's just, yeah, it's a great franchise. This is might be my favorite, but then it's been a while since I saw Phantasm 1. If I had just seen that one last night, that might be my favorite. But yeah, absolute 5 stars. I recommend it, to everybody.
Yeah.
Well, how about you, Greg?
So I was really like, it was hard for me to put a star rating on this one. I've been thinking about it for a long time, and this talking, I think, is giving me a better idea of what I will say.
Mhm.
Few things. The tall man as a villain is amazing because he just doesn't really. I love that he has so many run-ins with people, and then he's just like, "But I don't care." And then he, like, lets them go, and then eventually, like, gets his revenge because I feel like he's always just like, I'm gonna win in the end, so I don't really care. I'm not gonna do it now." Like, he's literally
Mhm.
walking up to, like, that priest and chokes him. I read it not as I watched it twice because I was curious. That sequence. I
Mhm.
feel like the rosary doesn't break, he just lets it go.
Mhm.
And then the priest is like, "I'm gonna grab my rosary." He's like, "Actually, I'm not." And then later the priest dies, and the tall man is always just like, "I don't give a shit. I literally don't care. I'm doing my
Mhm.
thing. I'm gonna be really upfront about it because you can't stop me." Like, it's a great villain. The spheres are great villains. It's such an interesting and very different kind of horror franchise than you see anywhere else.
Mhm.
Um, I do think that, like, in my brain when I think about the movie, that first part is sort of difficult for me to, like, it feels like a
Mhm.
different movie from the rest of the movie. Like,
That's
when I
fair.
think about the movie, it's like I think about the road trip stuff, but that first 20 minutes is almost discombobulating in a few ways. So I'm gonna give it a 4 stars just because it's like I feel like it could have been a little smoother, or like if
That's
we could
fair.
have gotten to the road trip part, like it would have been like, but once we're there, it's just a riot. Like, it's just a good time. It's a great horror movie. It's scary. Like, I watch a lot of horror movies and they don't usually get me scared, but there's still sometimes it's like, "Yeah, I hope they don't put that needle in. Ooh, don't do that." You know what I mean? Like, there's
Mhm.
still moments of that in there. Like, highly recommend it. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this one 5 stars myself. I think it's exciting, scary, action packed, but more importantly, I think it's weird. I think
Oh
it's
yeah.
really
Yeah.
good how weird it is, and like, but it pulls it off so well. Like it
Hmm.
has a tone unlike any other movie, and is so much fun for like taking Phantasm. The original Phantasm I think of as very creepy. It's also very fun
Yeah.
and it's very creepy. Where this is less creepy and more fun. This is just
Hmm.
something wild is always happening, and it does such a good job of like setting up Phantasm 3, which is even wilder and more expansive, and makes me want to develop a Phantasm tabletop role playing game, because it, like, at that point the world becomes so fun.
Yeah.
And you know, I think anyone who's not familiar with this franchise needs to watch at least Phantasms 1 through 3. And I think if you've watched 1 and you haven't watched 2, you owe it to yourself. Open your heart, give it a chance. Now, that said, I found some people that gave Phantasm 2 a chance and they didn't much care for it.
Okay.
And we're going to check in with them in the review.
Review, where we review reviews. You wrote a review of the film, now we're going to review you. Review, review. La, 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 la.
Well, I wanted to hear some of these because everybody I know loves Phantasm, so it's weird to me that there are people who don't. But like
Mm-hmm.
the critics hated it at the time, and I mean critics.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it hasn't come to be thought of as like one of the lost greats, and it should be, because it really
Yeah,
is
it has a
good.
really it has a really mid rating on Letterboxd. Like a lot of the time when something has a 3, it's because it has a lot of 1s and a lot of 5s, and that can be genius. But this has a lot of 3s, and I don't know where that would come from. So go on. I will interrupt you no longer.
Well, one thing that I did do a little bit differently for this review is I took a look at the top 4 of the people who gave it a negative review.
Okay.
And I just put one in there to give you an idea of what they've got in their top 4, what they'd rather be watching than Phantasm 2.
I like this a lot.
So Maddie gave it 1/2 star. Dumb, random, edit. Reduced to 1/2 star. Didn't even finish. Read the rest of the plot on Wiki. Still dumb. Not going to be finishing the series. And in Maddie's top 4, American Beauty.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say if you don't like 2, you definitely shouldn't be finishing the series.
Right. Yeah.
No.
You're not going to like it more. Mary gave it 1 star. Yeah, ain't gonna lie. I fell asleep. That was so boring.
Wow.
Something crazy is always happening in this movie. Every single fucking second.
There's so many, there's many things I could see someone saying negative about this movie. Boring is not one of them.
Well, in Mary's top 4, she's got Peter Pan from 2003.
Wow.
I don't even know if I know what version of Peter Pan that is.
No, I don't. All right. Men's Shirt gave it 1 star. I hate the Phantasm series, no matter how hard I try to like it. Top 4, Chungking Express. Okay, Nerdlinger.
I love that movie.
No, it's a good movie.
Well,
But-
why don't you go talk to Men's Shirt about it? You like
Well,
it.
I mean, I think men should stop trying to make themselves like movies that they don't like. It's fine not to like.
Yeah,
it's
it's always interesting to me when someone's like, I didn't like this movie, but I don't like the whole thing. It's like, then you probably shouldn't really review it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like pickles, and I don't go to the pickle festival and talk about how terrible it is.
Yeah. Get it together. Danny gives it 1.5 stars. I don't understand what I just watched, and I don't ever need to find out.
Okay.
Top 4, Romy and Michelle's high school reunion.
That's a good movie. That's a good
Okay.
movie.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to see it again.
I could also see some, I had to caption it a few years ago, and I was just like, it still holds up, actually. But I could see both Peter Pan and I looked at some pictures of Peter Pan 2003. The people who like that probably not going to be Phantasm fans, is my guess.
Okay.
Like if
Okay,
that's
fair
your
enough.
main, like if that's your top 4, it's like, yeah, that's probably Phantasm is probably not for you.
All right. Meme Bag, 1.5 stars. This movie fears death and despises anyone who works in the funeral industry. Top
Okay.
4, Citizen Kane.
Ah,
Sorry, I just anti-funeral industry. It's so funny.
They might have been joking with Meme Bag. We'll cut them
Maybe.
the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to cut them the benefit of the doubt for putting Citizen Kane in your top 4. Who's your favorite band? The Beatles? Peter Foy, 1.5 stars. Pretty standard B-movie fare.
huh.
What?
Messy plot, lame brain special effects, ugly quality. First of all, there are other movies you're watching that are like Phantasm 2.
Name them, please.
Yeah, I would love to watch them. And lame brains, but these special effects were awesome. I don't know
Yeah.
what you're talking about. Top 4, The Master.
Okay.
Ed Lear, 1.5 stars. Unmemorable.
Wow. I mean, I think they should check for a carbon monoxide leak, to be honest.
Yeah. Top 4, Stalker.
That's a good movie.
Okay.
But again, it's a slow plotting Russian sci-fi film full of intellectual conversation. Probably not going to be into the Phantasm series a lot.
I don't know. I mean, there
Yeah.
is me.
No, so I mean, I like them both.
Yeah.
So but I'm just
But
saying,
some
if
people-
someone's
Yeah.
Yeah, if someone's like, "This
Do
is
either
one
of
of
you
my
have
favorites."
Stalker in your top 4? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
No.
yeah.
All right. P. Waters, New Hampshire, I believe. Or Waterson. 1.5 stars. This was a dull, pointless sequel. Its only contribution to cinema is the quadruple shotgun.
Well, at least they knew that.
Yeah, you're on the right track, P. Watersnu. Top 4, Mrs. Doubtfire.
Okay.
Mrs.
All right.
Doubtfire.
Drive-by
Hello.
fruiting. It was a drive-by fruiting.
What, are you guys ready for a game?
Hell
I
yeah.
love a game.
All right. We're going to play a little bit of This Guy Played That Guy. This guy played that guy. Yeah, this guy played that guy. This guy played that guy in a film. All right. So, famously, Mike LaGrosse. No, LaGros. This is Mike.
James
played-
LaGrosse.
James LaGros took over the role of Mike from Michael Baldwin. So this is going to be a round of questions about actors who were recast. So I'm going to give you the original film and the actor and the role, and I want from you the sequel and who they took
Who
their
they were
place.
replaced by, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. Who they were
Yeah.
replaced by. And this is going to be a buzz-in game.
Okay. So as we say our names.
Yes, and the other person can steal. And I'll give you a bonus point if you can name the film, and 1 point if you guess the actor or actress. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Question number 1. Silence of the Lambs, Jodie Foster, playing Clarice.
Yeah, I feel like I should know this. Greg.
Greg?
Julianne Moore? Okay.
Correct. Can you name the film?
Was it Red Dragon?
Nope, it was Hannibal.
Okay.
Still 1 point. Greg
Good
is on the
one.
board.
All right.
All right. Question number 2. Charlie's Angels, Bill Murray.
Oh, Greg.
Anna.
Greg.
It's gonna be Bernie Mac.
That is
In
correct. Can
that-
you name the film?
It's Charlie's Angels Full Throttle.
Correct. Greg is up to 3. All right. This one a little bit tougher.
Okay.
Inspector Gadget. Matthew Broderick as Inspector Gadget.
Oh, Greg.
Anna.
Greg.
Oh, it's French. His last name is French, but I cannot remember his first name, unfortunately.
Anna.
Steve Carell?
Greg, you were very close. That was French Stewart in
Yes,
Inspector Gadget
okay.
2. His first
Okay.
name was French.
Yeah. So I had something of it. I could picture him from Third Rock from the Sun in his voice or whatever.
Yeah, you can
wait.
see that little pinched face.
Mhm.
Carell was in Get Smart.
Yes.
That would make sense.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
That's all right. Still plenty of game left to play. Question number 4. Batman Begins. Katie Holmes as Rachel Dawson.
Greg.
Anna.
I'm sorry, Greg beat you, Spooty.
Is it
Maybe this
Maggie-
is a connectivity thing.
It could be a connectivity thing. Is it Maggie Gyllenhaal?
Correct.
And that's The Dark Knight Rises?
Correct.
No,
Greg,
it's
is
The
it-
Dark Knight.
Oh, no, wait. Yo, you're right.
All right. So just
Yeah.
yeah.
Good catch. I'm sorry. We went to the judges on that one.
Can I have a pity point?
Yes, you were on the board for correcting.
Hooray!
because we want a nice clean game.
We sure do.
Here we go. Question number 5. Aladdin, Robin Williams as the genie.
Anna. Will Smith in the live action Aladdin.
Judges? All right, I'm going to allow that. That was not the answer I was looking for. Greg, you can steal if you can guess the one I was thinking of.
It's the actual sequel that they put out on video, right? And I cannot remember who replaced him.
It was Dan Castellaneta in Aladdin, The Return of Jafar.
Oh, interesting.
All right, we got one coming up for the Marvel heads here. I know that's both of you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Iron Man, Terrence Howard as James Rhodes.
Oh, Anna. Don Cheadle.
Can you name the film?
And Iron Man 2.
Correct. Anna, you have now taken the lead.
Yeah, good work.
Okay. Question number 7. Back to the Future. Claudia Wells as Jennifer. Claudia Wells as Jennifer. That was, of course, Elizabeth Shue in Back to the Future Part 2. Elizabeth the Shue. Okay, just 2 more to go. Still anybody's game. Question number 8. Batman, Billy D. Williams.
Anna. Wait.
5 seconds.
He played Commissioner Gordon. Yes. He played Commissioner Gordon, but I don't remember who he was replaced by.
He did not play Commissioner Gordon.
Okay.
No, I don't. I haven't got anything.
He played Harvey Dent. He was replaced by Tommy Lee Jones in Batman Forever.
Okay.
Then I thought Two-Face, but I thought Aaron Eckhart, and I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. This last one. This one is very much anyone's to grab. I know that at least one of you is going to get this. So ring in quick.
Okay.
Interview with the Vampire, Tom Cruise as Lestat.
Anna. Stuart Townsend, Queen of the Damned.
Oh, wow.
And if you want the adaptation, adorable little Australian munchkin Sam Reed is currently playing Lestat.
Well, there you go. Well, there you have it. Congratulations to my wife coming back from an early deficit.
Yeah.
Even if we take away that pity point. Still the big wiener. So, with that, do you guys want to head on down to the Baddie Awards?
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Now you're messing with
the Baddie Awards.
Now you're messing with the Baddie Awards. Now you're messing with
the Baddie Awards.
Now you're messing with the Baddie Awards.
Congratulations to all the nominees.
Congratulations to all our nominees. And, of course, to the big winners. Who wants to give out a Baddie Award? I can start.
Sure.
Go for it.
I'm going to give my Baddie Award to Best Hat. And that goes to Reg's hat that just said Boogie Down. It was a baseball cap with Boogie Down embroidered on the front.
No, that was a great cap.
That was a cool as hell cap.
I was thinking to myself, I would like to have one of those, actually.
100. I'm going to get us matching Boogie Down caps. I'm going to figure it out. All 3 of us. Anna, do you have a Batty Award?
I do, and it's another edition of my recurring award. Hey, this aesthetic was on Supernatural. Carry on my wayward son. You cannot find, there is nothing, Eric Kripke, the creator of Supernatural, has never said anything definitive on whether he was influenced by Phantasm II or not. But if you search it, like, everybody, it's a strong fan theory in like both fandoms, and there are like a lot of commonalities. Your little one sentence summary at the beginning, basically, if it was two brothers setting off after to find and kill the demon that killed their family, you know, that's season 1 and 2 of Supernatural. And, you know, they have the black muscle car, and they wear a lot of flannel, and they have improvised weapons and an arsenal in the back seat. And the older one is kind of a horn dog, and he gets himself in trouble for it. And I mean, I'm absolutely positive. And the thing that made me, like, I was positive before I learned this, but Kripke was born in 1974, making him 14 in 1988. And that removed the last shred of doubt.
Yeah.
No, 14-year-olds is 100% the target audience of this movie.
Yeah.
And I guess me and you, my love.
Yes.
What about you, Greg? Do you have a Batty Award?
Yeah, and I have just a slight honorable mention that will make sense when I give my actual Batty Award, and I'm calling it the Just Shoot the Zombie Award, because I really hate in a zombie movie when it's just like, but that's my mom. I don't want to shoot. It's like, it's not your mom. It hasn't been your mom in a while, so stop. And I love that when Liz gets attacked by her grandmother, she immediately just clobbers it with a baseball bat. She's just like, fuck off. And it's just like, thank God you just shot the zombie. But I also do like that she gave a little like, sorry, grandma, at the end, because I feel like it still gives to that moment where it's just like, that's kind of weird. But it's also like, yeah, your grandmother looks weird and is much smaller than she used to be. And she's wearing a robe and she's literally attacking you. So fight back, because it only makes sense. And the honorable mention is just for the fact that when they get in the hearse, they're like, look in that casket, just make sure there's nothing in it. I was like, thank God somebody did that. It just feels like another,
that was
like,
really good.
like another kind of like classic horror trope that they're like, no, we're going to cut that shit out. Not that. And it's just like, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Great stuff. What a great film. Congratulations to all our nominees. Congratulations to you, listeners, for making it to the end of the episode. You've almost made it to the end of the Scare-topia. But next week, we will have our final scary entry, and it's going to be Addicted to Murder, Tainted Blood, with special guest Peter Spear. We'll be recording The Apple next. The Apple will be coming out the week after. That'll be the first one in November. So keep an eye out for that. I was so confused
for a moment. I was so confused.
Yes, I wanted to both promote that episode, but also make sure that you guys knew. Yeah, but Apple is still coming.
About the Apple, because
The Apple's a great movie.
It really is.
And I found out some fascinating stuff.
I am so excited for it.
Yeah. So tune in for that one, listeners. And hey, it's time for me to beg you to help us. You're our only hope, Obi-Wan. You are the mic to our Liz's, and only you can save us. By giving us that 5 stars. Or liking or subscribing or leaving a comment, whatever it's got, whatever you can do, that would be so awesome. And if you could tell a bud that you listen to the show, they're going to believe you. They're not going to believe us. I'm telling you. You are the hero of the hour. You can save someone's life today by recommending our podcast. You can also email us at yourfavoritebadmoviepod@gmail.com. Please shoot us a message if this is the first Phantasm movie you watch. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
And you can also check out our link tree in the show notes. That'll take you to our Instagram or our Blue Sky or our YouTube, where I've been posting a bunch of fun trailers for upcoming episodes. Give you a good visual primer on what these movies are like and what I feel like, what I like about them. So definitely check that out. And we'll see you next week for Addicted to Murder, Tainted Blood. And I'm just going to send you out with a little bit of the Phantasm theme, which we didn't talk about yet, but is so good.
Yeah.
So until next time, be good.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.